and today I would also like to uncover some science-based training methods and give you some practical blueprints on how to elevate and optimize endurance and stamina and how they look like, and actually to boost your aerobic engine and muscular resilience. So why do I think it's very important and why does it matters? It's not just uh, winning the medals or competitions, it's far more beyond that. So I think it's when you become um, an athlete, we also need to look at as an energy injury prevention, as a longevity throughout our career, or just the everyday vitality, so that we can thrive on the highest level as long as we can. So as we look as core concepts, what I actually mean, the stamina and endurance. So the endurance is practically the ability to sustain aerobic effort over an extended period of time, something running at 10 kilometers or just like a marathon. So when it comes on the other side with stamina, it's just the capacity to repeatedly generate force and power with minimal fatigueness. So, for example, the multiple high intensity bursts in soccer or in basketball, multiple jumps or multiple throws like in volleyball or in handball. So what I think is different, they're very different because we are talking about totally different energy systems. On one side, we have the oxidative system, while on the other, it's much more glycolytic and phosphate creatine uh, intersection, so interplay between those two. And if you want to consider about training methods, there is no one size fit in this routine. So you have to divide them and to look each individual and each athlete specifically. So if we look at these physiological foundations, we have the energy system, as I mentioned, the ATP or phosphine-creatine system. So this is like the immediate power burst, something like under 10 seconds that it happens, so like a short sprint. Or like glycolytic system is a system where it actually lasts from up to 2 minutes. So from 2 seconds up to from 10 seconds up to 2 minutes. So this is like a very high intensity tolerance um, practice session. Or the thirdly is the oxidative system. So it's something where it comes above 2 minutes. So it's the sustained endurance system. With these uh, adaptations, when we look them up, and when you want to create any training sessions, you need to concentrate yourself on the stroke volume, but you want to have the cardiac and resting heart rate output that should be very down. Then you know that you're on the right path and that you prepare your body practically for everything, that you're sustained for these high level demands. So in not just when it comes to that, so there is also the peripheral adaptations. When I talk about that, I meant on mitochondrial biogenesis, the myoglobin in chain athletes, and also the muscle fiber types. So we have type 1, a slow twitch, and we need to actually see about them and how to enhance them into the type 2A. So this is the conversion one for the mixed stamina and the running demands. And if you look about that, how we should practice with strength training principles, we actually improve our running economy when we train strength. That actually helps us to delay the neuromuscular fatigueness. So this is where it comes to our key variables into planning the training sessions, where we play with load and intensity. So but I have a sweet spot, something between 60 to 85% of one repetition maximum when it comes to load. And in volume, it's somewhere between 2 to 4 sets, 6 to 12 repetitions for mixture of strength and endurance capacity. And not to forget, when it comes to exercise selection, it comes first and foremost with single joint for stability and creating those base, and then we increase to multi-joint like squat, deadlift, and the other compound lifts. So yeah, this is first and foremost that we need to divide as as um, actually creating these simple protocols starting from the beginning. But if you want to interfere this short-term hypertrophy into the training session, they should not like hammer your VO2 maximum gains. So, but you have to properly sequence this training session into the macro cycle. But for me, what I like to do on a weekly level, so 2 times per week, maybe some lower body strength day with the upper body stability day, and using some plyometrics to bridge that power and endurance. And when it comes to these endurance training modalities, so there is at the beginning building up phase, so with the long slow distance running, and you also building up the capillarity for fat oxidation. And this is where you actually train somewhere between 1 to 2 hours at the intensity of 60 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. And after that, you're moving to the next level of increasing the tempo and the threshold work. So this is the training session that somewhere between 20 to 40 minutes at the lactate threshold. So this is around 85% of your maximum heart rate to raise the sustainable pace. And then you move to the next level when it comes to high intensity interval training. So for me, it's the sweet spot somewhere between 4 to 6 sets, depends on the tolerance, and in between like 3 to 5 minutes at maximum, so maybe 90+% of your heart rate with equal recovery. So I will keep it 1 to 1 work to rest ratio because I want to boost my VO2 maximum. And the last one should be actually divided into a transitional phase. So where I like to put a fartlek and the race pace simulations. So this is more like when you go specifically on your sport discipline demands. So you mimic those bursts under fatigueness. So when you want then to merge the technical skill with stamina. So what actually your sport will demand from you. So when I integrate the strength and endurance, I also apply some concurrent training strategies because I like to separate the sessions. And I would like to do and advise you to do early, first and foremost, strength training in the early, so before, so before midday. And the afternoon, I will divide and put my endurance training session. So because in that pattern, you will reduce the molecular interference. If you do another way around, it's not good. And even there is a study that shows that there is increase in 25% of injury if they just switched. So if they start with endurance training in the morning hour and doing the strength training in the afternoon. So this is where you also have to be very careful on the alternate days. So to prevent this acute fatigue crossover. So if you had like a very tough training session early so at night when it comes to endurance, so you want to maybe even a little bit be more careful and delayed the strength trainings in the morning hours on the next day, just to be more careful. So because you need to prioritize athletes and how they work and how they actually give you a feedback, and then to prioritize their primary goal. And on a game day or on a race day, what is actually their strength benchmark. So you need to actually to see how they're going, and based to that, to create the cycle to develop those um, um, weaker points at the beginning. So this is what I do on a regular basis. So that's why I like to do on macro and micro level, because the first plan should be the annual plan on a base. And then there is a build phase. So when you come actually to progressive overload, and then after progressive overload, you will reach the peak. So you will stay and then develop that peak performance phase, and then you will do the transition. So how I like to divide it, I like to divide them into the block periodization. What I focus them is something between 2 to 4 weeks for strength, and to switch them to endurance block to transfer those gains on the field. in training ground. So most in these cases, there's like a tapering protocols where we do 1 to 2 weeks pre-competition. So when I then reduce some volume to maintain the intensity to sharpen the performance. And if you're doing like on a larger scale, like on a 12 to 16 week mesocycle, then I like to do in a 4 week block. So with the first 4 weeks when we actually build those base with the endurance and on the foundational strength. Then the second block of 4 weeks, then we do a threshold and the maximum strength. The third 4 weeks should be basically game simulation and the power maintenance. And the last four should be the tapering and peaking. So where we also play with the volume and the intensity. Because first and foremost, when we have that, we also have to measure. So to do the metrics, to do the assessment test, to do the monitoring, and to see how our athletes are adapting. And yeah, at the beginning, of course, there is like Cooper test, yo-yo tests, wing rate test for power endurance balance. So there is also the metrics from VO2 maximal, the lactate threshold, what is the critical power assessment, and then you can, follow that throughout that period of time. You have to train with your athletes, but somewhere in between 6 to 8 weeks, you can do reassessment and just to see what are all the variables and how actually your athlete shows up with that primary plan. But you also, if you're having a possibility to wear some technology with yourself, then you should be measuring maybe a heart rate variability and also pre-exertion measurement. So this is very objective, but if you can track that, you're even more closer to see how your athlete is actually doing it. And not to forget, at the end of everything comes everything to nutrition, the recovery, and the regeneration. Um, if you want to wrap this up, so macronutrients timing, which is very good. I like to do a carb loading and also carb cycling based on my strength on one side and the endurance on the other side. So by that, I will just switch for one energy source more than to another. Of course, the hydration and electrolytes, because then, especially if you're doing multiple times per week, you need to see that sweat rate testing to just individualize your fluid replenishment. And then you can measure yourself before and after the practice session just to see how you're doing it. And sleep regulation, 7 to 9 hours per night. Naps are allowed on that days when you do heavy load phases and high intensity intervals, and then just practically implement those active recovery modalities on and on. I have um, um, multiple programs built on this, and if you have any questions about this, you can tell, you can write, you can ask me. I will be glad to share some of those. And not just that, so there are protocols with ice baths, with contrast baths, warm, cold, do the specific massages, foam rolling to prepare, and to just hyperbaric chambers, infrared light, just to accelerate those clearance of metabolic byproduct that is built up in your body, yeah, lactate as well. So with those strategical movement and the case studies that I have shown, there is an improvement in all areas. So you will be on the right path. And my advice to you, so if you use some of these, some of the splits, and implement them in your training sessions, you will see yourself on a significant improvement. So you can do a double day splits, single day splits. You should divide it also to power-based hit interval training. You can just hammer, for example, the posterior chain at first if you're very weak on that. So, And if you are an everyday athlete, so you can integrate at least one training strength training session with the two endurance sessions per week, and then to see how it actually demands from you, and then monitor this weekly training stress score, and based on that you can apply more stress or even less stress. So this is for me, and underlined the other five key takeovers from this what I just mentioned. So at the beginning, construct a training session and the endurance training session with the work to rest ratio that your sport demands from you, and then you will do the sequence with the workout to minimize the molecular interference between the energy requirements. Then you should prioritize with the clear phases and on regular testing and reassessments to see how you actually progress and how you actually do under these circumstances. So, and then not to forget to prioritize recovery as much as, when not even more, as training. And then when you do the metrics, you can use those data, that feedback, and don't just guess. So be the one who is actually just gonna be right on track. And with this true athletic durability, there is a very good connection uh, with your body as a powerful engine, and that can be more resilient and more muscular. So when you structure that by design and to sustain by yourself with the smart recovery protocols, I cannot see any doubt in that. And if you can take it with you, even better. I hope that you have some similar stories to share, and please do that. Write me in the comments below. I would like to see how you do it. And yeah, please like, share, and follow for more content like this. Support it will be very helpful for me to see, to expand a little bit more, maybe to share this information to the person who needs more urgently. And yeah, let's just stay connected and explore the philosophy of sport and exercise even more. So take care. I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.